All right, guys, welcome back. Got Mark and Tom here. We're going to be going over some hot topics today. Just give you a little talk about the UFC since there's no fights this week. First, let's say thank you to our sponsor. We got Tampa Bless, home team do good, tampabless.com for more information on that. So, guys, we'll get right into it. We want to just do a little talk on Conor McGregor, Conor and Dustin coming at it. We know these guys could potentially break every pay-per-view record right now. We don't know if they will or won't, but he's definitely going to be in the top 10 again. People are antsy for this one. I know Tom's eager to watch this fight.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, I'm not the biggest McGregor fan, but I think he could win this one. I know a lot of guys already have him winning. Poirier looked phenomenal his last fight. What do you see about this one, Tom? What do you think? You think this is going to be the number one all time?
Yeah, that's the kind of angle I wanted to take because I know the upcoming week we're going to cover this fight a little bit more in detail in terms of the fight itself and the fighters in it. But I wanted to just talk about Conor. Right now, in terms of pay-per-view buys in the UFC, Conor's name is attached to 7 out of 10. And my question is, after this fight, and number two on the list under number one is Khabib Conor. But number two, kind of surprisingly to me, because it didn't feel that hyped, was Dustin Conor Part 2.
Okay, yeah.
Which is kind of crazy to me out of all the fights ever, all the cards.
It wasn't even a good card either. That was just people are so excited to see Conor back in there.
I know, and Cowboy versus Conor is on there too in the top 10.
Another that's not even really that's not even really a great fight. They did a good job hyping that fight for Conor.
But I think my question really is the number 10 spot right now is held by Brock Lesnar and Shane Carwin back in UFC 116. Is this card going to bump that?
I'm on the wagon. I think it bumps that. I think that was an amazing fight. I loved watching Lesnar get in there. It's hard to realize that Lesnar was also just so dominant in the UFC, and he really didn't even have that background. I know he had wrestling, but it was crazy how he went in there and just steamrolled fools. But yeah, I think Conor gets it done here again. They know the UFC they pay huge money to get these pay-per-views built up. I think we see this. I don't know if it beats number one, Khabib, but I think it rolls right up there in top 3, 4.
Think top 5?
Yeah, I think it does. And you say that we had an earlier discussion, obviously. You say you don't think the card's that great. I think the card's pretty damn good. I think he gets more support in this card than he's gotten in a few of his other cards, considering they make him the main event so they don't put any title fights in there, because that is a factor. So there's no title fights because they have to have him as the main. I think he gets some support, man. Stephen Thompson versus Gilbert Burns is a great fight. We're going to cover this next, but Sean O'Malley is on the card. I think it's pretty good. I mean, Ryan Hall he has his own following himself. I like his support. One of the best fights on the card did just get bumped. We did just see it. Sean Brady versus Kevin Lee. They're looking to come in August, but I think that would have been a huge support too. So where do you see this one falling? You got to see it up there, but
I just wanted to clarify. When I discuss the card, I don't include prelims. I know that that's definitely something for someone that's very into it to include, but a lot of people, just like a concert, don't show up for the opening acts. They show up, they pack the stadium for the main card or for the band that is the lead band for the night. You know what I mean? And I think that's for a lot of – Conor puts a lot of new eyes and a lot of fresh faces on the UFC and on MMA. Now, when I'm talking about the card, I'm just talking about the main card. The preliminaries are great, and a lot of times they're stronger on a lot of these cards, and they turn out to be better than a lot of the main cards. But I also want to say that when you clarified and you said, in comparison to a Conor card, this is pretty stacked. That I agree with.
It's definitely stacked.
In comparison to another stacked card, I don't think it's as deep as some of the other cards.
It's difficult with no title shots to get it so deep. Besides like the Diaz brothers, I think, like I said, we'll cover it up right next. Who's the most popular fighter in the UFC without a belt?
Conor.
Conor. All right, but Conor's the main event, and if we're going by your motto, if everybody shows up for the main event, which I agree, they're definitely going to show up for the Conor fight, the main card, then this definitely cracks into the top 3 with no contest because they're showing up for a Conor rematch in the trilogy. So it's got to crack it on your end, and it's got to crack it on my end because I think the prelims are pretty stacked for this one, or they were stacked. It's
Natural Born
changing.
Killer, Carlos Condit on there. I like it, and I'm not like, I don't feel like it's a terrible card or anything. I just didn't feel like it could have been a little bit more stacked. Like I think you could have brought like some of the prelim fights. I might have swapped one of them, say Ryan Hall or even Carlos Condit. I might have swapped with the Hardy fight.
Yeah.
It is what it is. They wanted to have a heavyweight on there, and I'm not against that fight. I don't think it's a terrible fight. I like Ty, and Hardy's getting better. That'll be covered, but that's a main event,
Right.
So, anyways, I don't want to harp on that too long.
Right.
Point being on this is, I agree. I think this one's going to be. It's going to at least break the top 10. It could break top 5. I think it will, be in that it's the first live fight. I also think Conor thrives in the limelight. First live fight back in with the fans, not live fight, but with the fans in Vegas. So it's going to be incredible. But point being is, if Conor does this card, Conor Dustin gets into the top 10, Conor's name will now be attached, win or lose, to 8 out of the top 10 pay-per-views in UFC history.
And if he wins, does he crack right back into it? If he fights again, right? He'll be maybe 9. He could control all of them if he wins. He probably fights for the belt. And who doesn't want to see Charles Oliveira versus Conor? Charles is in a different.
Agreed, but I was going to ask you that.
level.
I was going to say, if he wins, will he go for the belt?
I think he absolutely does. He wants that belt again. It's not all money for Conor. He's already the highest paid athlete in all of sports. So it's not all money for him.
Right, but what I wanted to ask you, though, do you think there's any chance that he might bypass Charles and go for Usman?
I know no fighter thinks they can lose, and I know you're on the Conor wagon, but there's no shot right now Conor takes down Usman. Usman's at such a different size.
I'm not saying it's not a question of who wins. It's a question of if he wants to fight.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a good look for Conor, because who wants to get mauled out there? I just don't think. It's just not. He has a legitimate shot fighting Charles. Charles, listen, we both love Charles. We think he's a great champ. But Michael Chandler showed you Charles's chin is there to be taken.
Oh, yeah.
And Conor has hands. But
no question.
But when Conor goes up to 170, he's not going to have the same power he has at 155 and what he had at 145, where you really see he does have very quick, powerful hands. But at 170 and Usman's chin,
and plus
it's not a smart move, I don't think. Maybe
to me, it's not whether who wins. It's just whether or not. I was just curious your take on that, on what he might decide to do or what he might be looking to do. I also think that Usman is really jacked at that size. Like,
right,
he's
that's
cutting
why
down.
it's kind of, it's not. It just doesn't seem very fair to me. Almost like Conor probably rolls at 170 naturally, and Usman's
right.
Usman's big boy, man. That guy is solid, no question.
He could be chilling at 195.
He could probably go to 210 easy if he really wanted to. All right, let's move it on, because now we want to move on to a little bit of the O'Malley talk. And this was one of the things. He switched his opponent. He's going against a no-name. This guy's making his debut against Sean O'Malley on a Conor McGregor main event card. For me, my question is, do you think Sugar Sean is the most popular fighter in the UFC to never have a belt, never be in the top 5.
Was Diaz ever in the top 5, Nate?
I'd be honest, I don't know if he was ever in the top 5. Masvidal was in the top 5. He went for the belt.
If Nate wasn't, then Nate's more popular.
Yeah, Nate might be more popular today. I think in the near future, O'Malley, he's so popular. He's so loved. He's so good with social media and Twitch and everything else. I had a different opinion. Like, we argue, should O'Malley be taking... And let's not call this guy slug, because this guy could be very good. We don't know. But should O'Malley be taking a guy who's his debut on a main event when O'Malley could easily be fighting way up the rankings, and they'll give him most guys he wants because he's so popular. So how do you feel about that? Because I have a little bit different opinion. I've been checking some research on it, and Chael Sonnen made a lot of sense in some of the stuff he said about it. Resonated with me. But how do you feel about that?
My take, based on what I know, which is not a ton, it's from a fan's perspective, I don't like it. I feel like that's not a championship mentality in terms of if your goal is to become a champion. If your goal is to become the most popular fighter, that's different. If you want to have a belt and you want to be a champion, you look to take fights that are actually above you, equal or above you, to try to up your value as a ranked fighter. I thought the Smoka fight was terrible. This guy's even more unknown. I think Smoka would probably be a heavy favorite in the line over this new guy. Nothing to take away from the guy, but he's an unknown, and he hasn't been in the limelight. He's going to be in a huge stage. The fans are going to be going wild. It's going to be very intimidating. I also think, I don't know, I almost want to say that Sugar got a little shooka. He got a little shook up. I don't know why he's doing this, other than, like you said, I could see that from a business standpoint. I'm not going to discredit the guy, but from a competitive sport, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Do I think it's almost going to be like, listen, O'Malley's very fun to watch, and I actually have gained a liking for him based on his last fight because he looks like almost like a video game, kind of like Rose does sometimes. When they're in the zone, they're very talented in their striking. The difference is O'Malley's not looking across at a person that's ranked well or much higher than him.
Yeah. No, listen, I totally saw it that way, and then I saw it after a little explaining, and we have this argument all the time and other times, is the rankings. What do the rankings mean? And sometimes they mean absolutely nothing. And if O'Malley's going out there, he's the only one who has anything to lose taking this fight. Because if this kid smokes O'Malley looks like a chump. Looks like a fool.
Right. I mean, if this kid even wins a decision,
it makes O'Malley look like a fool. So O'Malley's the only one who has anything to lose in this fight. This kid goes from no name debut to ranked, whether it's top 15 or whatever.
I just don't think I just don't think it's a smart move.
The thing is, though, if O'Malley shuts this kid's lights early on in a Conor main event where everybody actually watches them, and he gains more popularity as already one of the most popular guys in UFC right now, I think he could potentially call out for a belt. Dana White wants mega fights. They're a public company. They want fights that sell. They want fights that make them money. And Sugar can make them money. And it doesn't matter if he's never even fought a guy in the top 10. If they think him versus Jan or him versus whoever is going to make them the most money, they can make it happen. This is the UFC. This isn't boxing. And it kind of changed my perspective because it does happen. The rankings are not that... The meaning's not always there in the rankings. It's not like 4 has to fight 3, 3 has to fight 2, 2 has to fight 1. That doesn't happen.
No, the perfect example is the main event on that card.
Well, exactly. So
Poirier was like, I don't care about the belt. I want to fight Conor because in my mind, just like I've said, I feel like that's the real belt fight anyway. And I definitely agree with you in terms of people being able to.
And popularity, and whoever wins this fight gets the belt shot. Easy. They get the shot.
It is, but I also feel like it's beyond that for me. I feel like they're the real belt holder.
No,
I
you
don't
feel
think
like that, but we're
Charles.
talking O'Malley here, not Conor, Dustin. But
Right, but
does
I think
the
there's a
rankings don't
similarity just
mean
higher players.
the rankings don't mean anything if the UFC wants that mega fight? They make it happen. And if O'Malley can once again turn off one of his knockoff walkouts, fans go crazy. More people love him. I'm a huge O'Malley guy. I love O'Malley since he was doing his thing on The Ultimate Fighter and everything like that. So I think my reasoning changed on it because I was a little upset they didn't take on Merab or Tim Elliott was calling for him or a guy ahead of him. I mean, Merab's a machine. I think Merab has the ability to be a champion also in his own right. So, but then once I sat back and thought about it, I heard a few other people. Like I said, I was listening to his son and everything. Hey, he's the only one who's got anything to lose, and he gets one of those on the main event. He could fight number 2, number 1. It doesn't matter. The rankings just don't mean enough for me to hate on that fight anymore. Like I did as a fan, like you want to see him fight up because he's so talented. When he's in there, you want to see what he really can do. But
Yeah, I could see that. I don't fully agree still with Kale. Other than Diaz is someone who's done that, but he also has a history with a win over Conor. He's had
Masvidal
some.
did that. Masvidal did that. You're a big Masvidal guy. He never beat anyone in the top 5 in welterweight, and then he gets a few knockouts. Ben Askren, not ranked. What's he got? 1 win in his whole UFC career. And he gets to fight 2 times for the belt because he gained popularity.
Agreed, but Masvidal was also ranked higher than Sean O'Malley.
He is, but he wasn't in the top 5 even, and he got 2 title shots. And he got whooped both times.
No, listen, I see that angle for sure, and I definitely agree that my favorite fighters are they have a popular following. It's Diaz Bros, it's Conor, Masvidal. Those guys are all huge followings, and it shows in the pay-per-views.
Right. Listen, that's my point. They want to build O'Malley to that size and not give him.
But let me just give you a scenario though. O'Malley, for anybody if O'Malley pieces this kid up, he gains nothing in my mind. From my perspective. Okay, good for you. It's like Billy Madison playing dodgeball with the kids in the court. It's not quite that, but it's not really fair. You know what I mean?
It's not. Yeah, I hear you.
You're taking a guy his first time in on a huge card, very intimidating in that space as well. But that's not really what I was going to say. What I wanted to say was, okay, what if he pieced up Merab? Then what?
I like both those guys a lot. I don't even know.
But I'm just saying, in the scenario, say Merab took that fight and they signed it, and O'Malley came out and just pieced him up. You're talking.
He gains a lot more popularity with hardcore fans.
And he still gains all the others.
I think he gains all the others no matter who he pieces up because he's on a Conor main event.
Correct. But now you gain the whole pie, plus you just leapfrogged a top tenner.
We'll agree to disagree. That's why the show's good because most of the time we don't agree. So,
all right,
you get both sides.
Next one.
All right, let's talk Francis. Francis claiming he wants to fight September. They're claiming they're not going to wait another month for a dude who just became champ. They want an interim belt between Cyril Gane and Derek Lewis, the Black Beast there. Kind of crazy. Feel like there has to be something behind the scenes going on that we don't know about. I've read some of the texts and tweets and everything from Dana. I've read Francis's managers. And what do you think's going on there? They're giving an interim belt. Francis just won in March. It's not even like he won in 2021. Normally you get at least a year. What do you think happened?
I wouldn't be surprised if it had to do with some type of politics based on some of the comments he made, I think affiliated with Jake Paul or something that I'm understanding. My initial thought on that was just pure surprise. I was just stunned. I thought that Francis was getting railroaded. You know, I love the matchup between Gane and Lewis, but that shouldn't be for an interim. The winner of that should get Francis. In my mind, as far as what I know, Francis is not out of commission. He's capable of fighting, so just have the winner fight Francis at a push date.
Right.
Francis had to sit around. He was never given an interim opportunity. For how long?
There's got to be something behind the scenes. Either he got too excited when John Jones started calling him out and he knew he can be on potentially one of the top 10 pay-per-views and make real money. The Jake Paul comment. Is Francis holding out for more money and we don't know about it? Is that being quiet? There's something more to it, because there's no way they're just taking a guy who's worldwide loved right now. Dude has a giant African following, bringing new eyes to the sport, that they're just going to railroad this dude like that. The guy is a nice dude. It's not like he's got caught beating people in public or anything. And they'll still stand by their guys if they're making them money, even if they do that. We know that. So something else has to be going on. Like you say, it could be the Jake Paul thing. Made some comments about that. He wants the money. He wants the money. I don't know.
It could easily be money.
It almost definitely is money. But is there something else? Is he trying to wait for John Jones and they're stop holding us up? Because that, to me, I could see that in the background. Hey, I want Jones. Jones is going to be the biggest fight. I want to take that guy's legacy. Jones is considered the greatest by many. So we just don't know. It's just a weird scenario.
You could also piggyback. You could also kind of piggyback on that a little bit, even though back from my teacher days, I hated the term piggyback in teacher meetings, but I had to throw it in there just for my own amusement. But to piggyback on that statement there, I think if that is the case, which obviously this is just speculation, if he was holding out for the Jones fight, that could have kind of compounded their dislike for him, because they may have already kind of had, and we know they have a bit of disdain for Jones. So if they're like, man, this guy's turning into Jones, and we already had Jones, let's just make an interim.
Right. They might have a little distaste for Jones, but they'll still make a Jones fight happen because it's money. That's a business move.
If
People
they
want to
don't
watch
make
Jones.
the Jones-Francis fight, in my mind, that's the fight to make, and we've already discussed this. Jones, and I know you might feel the same way, is the best ever until we find out he's not.
Right.
He's right now, based on his career, and I don't like to do too much GOAT terminology because it depends on a lot of things. There's so many different factors. But in my opinion, he is the greatest.
No, listen, I'm not going to argue that. Jones is Jones. I think he is the greatest right now. I also think Jones is the one holding out the Francis fight, not vice versa. Jones says he wants another year. First, he was calling out money. He wants the year. He's bulking up. The guy is double the size he was. He's a freak. Listen, if anyone could go out there and beat Francis in a point fight, it's John Jones. I do think John Jones can clear out the heavyweight division. Of course, John Jones can get caught. These guys, every one of those top guys has enough power to put anyone out. That's why no one just keeps the heavyweight belt for super long times. But if anyone
Except
could
for
do
Stipe.
it, he only is still his max is 3 defense on a heavyweight belt. I think that's the record. It's 3 title defenses. Which, listen, that's considered the best right now. That's not even crazy, though. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Stipe. It's phenomenal that he did it.
I thought it was more times for Stipe, actually.
Nah, Cormier took him out, I think, on the 4th. And then he won it back. And then, obviously, they had their trilogy. And then he lost to Francis. And now he wants to fight Francis again. We know that,
and he deserves it. He does deserve it.
Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Stipe. I'm just saying the heavyweight's extremely
and
hard.
Stipe's looking pretty thick too. He's putting on some size too. I think he's trying to get back up again.
Yeah, he said he does need weight for Francis. You need enough power to get Francis out of there if you've got any shot. But yeah, it's a weird thing. We don't know. Big Jones fans, though, love-hate for Jones. Now, let's just move right on here. Who do we see fighting the Diaz brothers Next, we know they want to be on the same card if they can. Well, Nick hasn't fought in, 6-7 years now, suspension. Nate's coming off another brutal fight. Guy just needs another couple rounds and he could have won it. But on the real, who do they fight right now?
No, it's tough. Got to fight. Everybody's like booked that I would like think that could be a good matchup for them to get on the same card. For them both to get on the same card, I would like to see, and it really doesn't matter who fights who. If you throw Bilal and Masvidal in there, and either Bilal fights Nate or Nick, or Jorge fights Nate or Nick, it really doesn't matter. That would be great.
Right.
I also think Conor's a possibility. He could be holding out for Conor and see what happens. I'm talking about Nate.
Right. Get another fight with Conor. I mean, it's the money
Get
fight.
the trilogy.
It's a great fight.
That's the trilogy.
I think I see in there, though, a guy climbing the rankings who looks good every time out. I could easily see Nick's comeback fight being against Vicente Luque. He's ranked number 5.
He's looking for a fight.
He's ranked number 5. The guy's as talented as can be.
He's not booked right now, is he?
I don't believe he is. I don't think he's booked right now.
Check that, though, because he might be.
Listen, even if one of these guys
what's
is
his name is who I'd like to is Michael Chiesa would be good, but he's got a fight coming up too.
But even if they're booked, they could always change that out for a bigger name. We know how that works. Someone falls out, they fall in. But Vicente Luque has been looking better and better, ranked number 5.
See if you could do a quick check on that. See if he might be fighting Chiesa. I'm not sure.
I really like Chiesa, but I don't know if he brings enough popularity per se for those guys. I don't know.
I mean, Leon didn't have a big following. He's just high rank.
Leon has a different following, though. I think he has, some in the UK, and he definitely has some hardcore fans. And Chiesa's a big dude even for 170. I don't know how he made 155. I don't see anything here. With Nate Diaz book, Luque alters plans for next fight. Didn't Marge see? So he was supposed to fight Nate Diaz at UFC 260 here. So that would actually be a nice little matchup. I don't see him booked right now.
Yeah. You know who else? Just speculating, and it's very unlikely. Very unlikely. But I think it could be fun. Is if Gaethje got into the mix.
You think he would go up in weight, though?
I would love to see it. I think
so.
He
This
could.
says August 7th, Luque versus Chiesa.
That's what I thought.
It's looking like that.
And both of them would be nice matchups for the Diaz bros, but they're fighting each other.
Yeah, I mean, I like a few guys for them, but who has that stardom to fight with them? We'll see. I mean,
like Gaethje hasn't had a fight in a while. I think it would be a nice slugfest, and he could get. I mean, it would go huge.
I feel Gaethje's
I
feel he's a little small for those guys. Gaethje.
I mean, he might be, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be a good fight.
Yeah. All right, we'll move it right on from the Diaz brothers since we don't know who they got next. But what do you think about Tanner Boser calling out Big Ben Rothwell? Real quick on that one. What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah.
Have the polar bears beef it up.
What do you think happens there?
I mean, Boser, as I like to tell you, is nobody rocks a missing front tooth like Boser, man. He's like a really large former hockey player that just came into MMA, and I don't know if he ever did play hockey, but he is Canadian, so he may have. Go Bolts, by the way, over Montreal in the Stanley Cup, man. We're going Tampa Bay here. It's Champa Bay, by the way. Yeah, no, I like it. I think Ben could absorb a lot of hits, and he's going to have to because Boser swings hard. Who do I think will win? I don't know yet. We'll cover that when it gets closer, and we'll see if it actually ends up coming to fruition. But I like
Do
it.
you
I'm a
think? Do you
fan.
think they're on the chopping block if they lose? Both guys have had a pretty hefty skid. I know they haven't lost every fight, but they've been losing a few fights. Both of them. They just both. I think coming off a victory now, but
Yeah, they are.
before that they were skidding a little. So I mean,
I
potentially.
don't see that. I mean, unless Ben wants to call it a day, he's had a longer career, but I don't see that for Bozer. I think Bozer's kind of an up and comer still.
I mean, I agree, but he was worried that he's on the chopping block, losing a couple. But I like Bozer. Now we got one more. I know
He's entertaining.
I know your opinion. I like it. Meisha Tate making a comeback. What do you see happening with Tate? I mean, she's gonna get a fight. She's gonna get a warm-up fight. Do you think she gets 1, 2, 3 warm-up fights, then for the belt, or one warm-up fight, then the belt? And then what happens when she meets Nunes? If she meets Nunes.
Well, there's a lot of ifs there. I think, first off, I would be very impressed if she wins her first fight. I think that would be in itself a victory because she's been away for a while. She looks great. I saw a couple of her pictures cutting weight. She looks to be in phenomenal shape. But that's only one aspect of the game is the look.
Right.
Performance. You got to get out there and do it. You know, you got some guys like, if you went based on looks, you'd never think DC was as good as he was.
That's why I love
it's
DC.
not. You can't base. Yeah, you can't base everything on looks. But she does look great. She looks to be fit, which shows dedication to her craft, and I give her credit for that. If she even wins the first fight, that's a victory. Whether or not if she does win, could she get the belt? Yes, she could, based on the popularity thing that you were just talking about. She could get basically anybody that's not Valentina or Kayla Harrison that's getting a Nunes fight, in my mind, is really a fight that Nunes is going to definitely win. You know, not definitely because it's never definite,
So
but
Meisha Tate's booked
in my mind
for a fight.
Right.
Which is
If she wins, I think she could get a belt shot if Harrison or Valentina are not getting a belt shot. Those are the two threats to actually.
yeah.
I might.
I don't
pick
see
them
Valentina
to beat Nunes.
stepping up right now, so I think I'm not saying she can't. I'm just saying I don't think she does right now. She likes her division. She likes being the queen. But so Tate's going to fight Marion Renault, who was supposed to retire after her last fight, I believe. I thought she was retired. I guess she's making her comeback for Tate. I like Tate to win that fight. I don't think you're really. She was a future. She's a champ. She's an ex-champ. Tate.
I'm not saying that I'm going to pick Tate to lose that fight. I just think it would be a victory in terms of a comeback run to get that fight.
Yeah.
A W in that fight.
I don't think she's too old.
Do I think it's a give me in any way? No way. It's definitely not a give me. She hasn't been in the cage in a long time, and you know it's years later.
Right.
But do I think she's ready for Nunes? No, I do not think she's ready for Nunes. There's only two fighters that are ready for Nunes in my mind, and I just named them.
Well, I disagree. Like I said, that's why it's good to hear us talk because we don't agree on too much. So I think Tate comes in, takes this fight versus Marion Renault, who is a tough girl in her own right. Take nothing away from Marion Renault. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think Tate wins. I think her being away from the sport, not being away from the sport, being away from inside the cage, sometimes really helps these guys clear their minds, get over injuries, long nagging injuries. She had some surgeries, I believe, where she got her nose done and everything like that. I think sometimes it really helps them in a way that they need.
She had a kid too, didn't she?
Yeah, I believe she had a kid, but she's still on the broadcast desk for ONE FC or whatever. I believe she's might be part owner or vice president or something over there, VP. I have to double check her exact position.
Yeah, she was something. She's been staying in the game.
She's much higher, so she's always involved in MMA in some way or another. I think sometimes it helps a lot of them to see, like I said, the broadcast desk and all that. They get different views.
I was like Rich Franklin.
Yeah, I believe it helps some of them. I believe it helped her. Now, I got to see her fight Marion Renault. This is a warm-up fight. I think she wins this one. I honestly think she takes on one other challenger just to make sure she's ready. And then I think, listen, I don't think she beats Nunes. I think she has a shot to beat Nunes, though. I don't think it's a walk in the park as Nunes normally does. I think it's more of a Jermaine Durandamy type fight where Tate has a lot of skills to give her problems and fits. Jermaine Durandamy looked phenomenal. She had any wrestling background. She wins that fight. Nunes took her down.
I mean, we haven't seen her fight in a while either. It'd be good to get her on a card.
Jermaine Durandamy, she's getting up there in age for sure too. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see her in a fight. Maybe we won't. She could be retired. I'm not even 100% on that. But I think Tate, one or two more goes. She's going to get the title shot if she wins two. I can almost guarantee that, if she wants it. And I think she has a legitimate shot.
I'm not going to argue with that because, I mean, look who Nunes fights. A lot of
anyone who's ready.
There's such a gap. There's such a gap between There's such a gap between her and everybody else that you're just like, who is this person? Who's this one?
She's definitely one of the best. There's no question how freakish Nunes is when she gets in there. You don't even realize how big she is until you see her with some of the smaller women. And you're like, whoa. Man.
But she had that picture of Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, she's ginormous. Like, you don't realize how big Nunes is until she, like I said, you see her with her wife. And her wife's not, I think her wife's one of the bigger strawweights. And Nunes, like.
Well, she came in the ring after
she's so much bigger
her
than
wife
them.
Lost to Mackenzie and just looked huge in comparison to the two of them.
Yeah, she's double them. And she's talented. I mean, look what she did to Megan Anderson, who's a much bigger girl than her. It wasn't even a fight. It was a sparring session for Nunes, just teaching her a lesson in there, really. But I don't think she does that with Tate. That's my thing. I think Tate has a lot of the skills that are needed to make it a championship fight. Now, I'm not saying she goes out and beats Nunes. It's crazy. If Cyborg didn't get it done, Cyborg took that kind of beating, every girl's going to have a hard time with Nunes. Just how it is. The girl's amazing.
Yeah, I named the only two that I'm really interested in. As far as Meisha Tate versus Nunes, I'm not that interested in that fight, but we'll see. We'll see how Tate looks.
Well,
I mean, it could become more interesting. I just think it's one fight at a time right now.
Let me ask you a better question. Because Tate has been looking in great shape, right? You've seen her. She looks in great shape.
Shredded.
What if she drops down to 125 to try to challenge in Valentina's class there? What do you think about that?
I think there could be some really good fights there, because that one is a lot deeper than Nunes' division.
Well, she's going to jump the rankings. This is Meisha Tate here. She's loved by everyone. Dana White loves her. That's why, no question. She wants to come back. She's get to whoever she wants.
Do I think Meisha Tate could beat Valentina? No, I do not.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good fight too. I don't think she beats Valentina off the cusp either, but I think it's a good fight again. And last, what do you think my girl Tatiana's coming back at? 125? 115? Where's Suarez go? She says she's making a comeback end of the year.
Yeah, she's probably going to get top 6 type fight right off the bat.
Strawweight or flyweight?
I think she's going to go 125.
Yeah, she might. Do you think she has any shot? Or I don't know if you watched her enough back then. Do you think she's got any shot if she gets Valentina?
I'm going to have to see. Give her like a top 5, somebody right on the cusp, like a warm up fight, really, and let's see how she looks.
She's definitely got to get a warm up.
She definitely has.
Rusty for sure.
I believe her issue was the back. Correct, her back.
I think it was her neck.
Was okay because I saw her on a video. She was performing yoga.
She has a kink in her neck.
Loosening up her back.
I think she has a kink in her neck.
And she had mentioned her back. I didn't know if she had back issues as well. I mean, those are two areas. If you've ever had back trouble or neck trouble, it's something else. So we got to see how she comes back, and I hope that she comes back fully healthy. And it's a great, fun addition to that group, man, because that group is actually starting to gain a little bit of steam when she comes back. It's starting to get a few people lined up.
She's undefeated still. She's undefeated. I loved her. I was all about the Tatiana bandwagon, and then the girl's injured. It's not her fault. I was all about it. I think she
Right.
was going to be champ right away. But now she's talking about she doesn't even want to go back down. She wants to go up to 125. I totally got to see her size and her skill set at 125. It's a different animal. That's a lot of weight for the females. Well, we'll see. All right, guys. I appreciate you
Yeah.
joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.